Okay, that was Sports with Stranger on the Train from the Suddenly album, and congratulations to them, it's doing very well, and including the tour with them in Split Ends, where apparently they played in Brisbane on Friday night and got over 4,500 people at Cloudland, which is amazing. And talking about people touring, we've got Sky tour dates, John Williams, who's an excellent guitarist, Melbourne Comedy Theatre, March 18th and 19th, the Canberra Theatre on the 20th, Sydney Capitol Theatre, 22nd and 23rd, then they're returning to Melbourne for the Comedy Theatre. And the big news is that the Boomtown Rats are going to tour here, and they arrive in May the 11th in Sydney, May the 28th in Melbourne, June the 3rd Brisbane, June the 6th Adelaide, June the 10th Perth, and it's going to be quite a good tour. In fact, I saw them in Oxford when we were over in England, and amazing. A couple of albums, we've got the Knack. Now, I raved about the Knack last year, and I really liked it because of Maya Sharona. I don't think this album, But the Little Girls Understand, really sort of comes up to the album of last year. In fact, I don't quite like it at all, but you've got to make up your own mind, so it's up to you, right? The Knack, they'll probably never speak to me again, but then that's the way it is.
Specials, actually, it's up to you.
Oh, it's up to you, it is by the special. Now, hold on, I've got to try to do this, Molly. Another single that you will not have heard of, you can't buy it in this country yet, but it's been played a lot around the traps, is the Aural Exciters called My Boy Lollipop, which is the old little Millie one. So watch out for that one, because I believe it's going to be sold out here in about 4 or 5 weeks. But a lot of people have been asking about it. There it is, the Aural Exciters, My Boy Lollipop. And the one that I held up last week, but I didn't have a cover, so I just held up my hands. Here is, in fact, the album cover, Billy Joel, Glass Houses. An excellent album, and one I'm sure it's going to take them to the top of the charts again. All right, let's have a look at a clip of a group that I think are quite amazing. We played a clip of theirs about 2 or 3 weeks ago, One Step Beyond. It was from the album One Step Beyond. They're quite an amazing, mad group. And here is Madness with My Girl, another track off the One Step Beyond album.
Been on the telephone for an hour. We hardly said a word. I tried and tried, but I could not be heard. Why can't I explain? Why do I feel this pain? 'Cause everything I say, she doesn't understand, she doesn't realize.
Well, there you go, and as I said, as promised, the very special guest artist for tonight's show is, in fact, Police. Andy, thank you very much for coming on. Stuart and Sting. You feeling all right now?
Yes, I feel fine, thank you.
Yeah? I heard you couldn't even talk before in some of the
I couldn't
interviews.
speak a week ago. I couldn't even get one word out.
Yeah.
I've had a holiday in Brampton Island,
Right.
in Queensland, and I feel a lot better.
Well, now the tour is back on the road. You've already played Sydney, Canberra. You're going back to Sydney, of course, and Melbourne. I mean, just tell me, what do you think of the Australian audiences?
Australian audiences are great. They're really noisy.
Yeah.
Particularly Melbourne. Melbourne's been the best so far because they sing all the songs.
Right.
And that's real good for us.
Well, when I sort of spoke to you in Houston, and I was telling you about how, like, Atlantis was sort of really starting to take off, and Roxanne as well. Well, since that time, which is only going back about 5 or 6 months ago, the whole thing has gone crazy in this country, and especially with the Greta de Blanc album.
So have we.
You've gone crazy as well. Listen, were you sort of surprised to hear how big you had become in Australia?
Well, it's fantastic when you've never been to a country before to be #1 there. I mean, that's very gratifying. Yeah.
Right.
Incredible.
And yourself, what are we going to do album-wise now?
We're going to miss out our 3rd album and come straight out with our 4th one.
Are you? No, seriously, you're doing some live stuff here. What do you mean you're missing out your 3rd album? No, you're doing some stuff around the traps here, aren't you?
We're recording tomorrow.
Tomorrow, in fact, yeah.
Right. Well, talking about albums, I've got to go back to a couple of albums, and I'll come back to you. Have you ever heard of Pat Benetar?
Yes.
Yes.
Because this lady
in the Detroit area.
Yeah, well, she's already become big in America. She's a great artist, this particular singer. Yeah. She is produced by Mike Chapman, who handles Blondie and The Knack. He'll probably never speak to me again after The Knack, but anyhow, I'm trying to redeem myself here, because this album is excellent. There's a track of it called Heartbreaker, which is the single, and I think once you hear it, it's going to take off in this country. It's a slower, but do yourself a favour, go out and have a listen to it. The special very guest artist for next week, very special guest artist, is a guy called M, and he's got a single out at the moment called Moonlight and Music.
We danced all night and I lost all sense of time. To another damn tune I can't get out of my mind. She's a cold war baby anything behind the iron curtain. I think we make contact.
Well, I certainly hope he's a lot better when he comes out here and doesn't have to have all those things put on his head. What do you think of sort of music like that, Andy?
Well, it can be artistic or it can be terrible. He's very good at it, I think.
Yeah. What do you think? Yeah, not bad.
What he said.
Now listen, you're saying you're going to record in Australia, and you're actually going to record tomorrow, aren't you, in the studios? How come? I mean, why have you decided to record in here, like in Australia?
Well, the thing is, we're so busy on the road, we haven't got time to take off.
Yeah.
So we have to record our album when we're touring at the same. Normally bands spend 8 months recording, 4 months touring.
Right.
We do everything all at once.
Now listen, a lot of people have been saying, like, especially after, say, like a track like Walking on the Moon, how can this three-piece group get a sound like that, and do they get a sound like that on stage?
Exactly the
We
same.
turn it up loud.
Right.
Now, that one is it's very straightforward. We really play just like that with 3 instruments.
Right.
Well, it's not just like the record. In fact, it's very different from the record, but in most ways it's better.
Right.
It's generally, my opinion, and the opinion of most people, is that we're better on stage.
Yeah. Well, listen, you're going to sort of do Walking on the Moon in the studios in about 5 minutes' time, and everyone's gearing themselves out for that. On the 29th, we've got very special guest artists for that week, and that's Racey from England, and they've got a clip out at the moment called Such a Night.
Such a night to have a party. I got a whole lot of loving and a whole lot of kissing to do. Such a night to have a party. Such a night to have a party. I got a whole lot of loving and a whole lot of living to do. I got a whole lot of loving and a whole lot of living to do.
Well, there you go, as I say, Racey on the 29th. All right, don't forget, on April the 13th, beaming you direct right across Australia, will be the first Countdown TV Week Australian Rock Music Awards, and it promises to be a great night that night. The votes have already come in. They're being tabulated by Pricewaterhouse now. No one knows and will not know until that night, until the envelope is open, who has won the awards, but it looks as if it's going to be a pretty exciting night. April the 13th, Sunday, a normal countdown time slot at 6 o'clock. Don't forget that. All right, listen, it gives me very, very great pleasure, not only because I happened to get to know the guys when we went over to Houston last year in America, but apart from the fact that they are brilliant musicians, they've come out with 2 excellent albums. I'm talking about Atlantis and Regatta de Blanc. But on top of that, they're some of the most modest guys I've ever met. In fact, when we talked to them then, they were so sort of knocked out that their album was actually keeping out the Fleetwood Mac album, Tusk, at #1 in England, and they were more surprised than anyone. But here they are, all the way from America, to present for you the hit song that's roaring up the charts right around the country. Police, live in the studios with Walking on the Moon.